All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead. It's 7 minutes past 1. We needed to start at 1. We're just trying to get our quorum in here, which we have met the quorum. It is Thursday, March 26th. We're near the end of the line of this session, and this is our first intergovernmental coordination meeting, and so I'm new to this committee and not new to the issue because it's something that was brought to our attention the first of the year. But as we start our meetings and our sessions, we do always start in prayer. And this time I'm going to ask Chairman Chris Irwin to bring a word of prayer for us. Mr. Chairman.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to pray to you, Lord. Thank you for what you do for us and your ability to touch us and guide and change our lives. Thank you for the skills of the people in this room and their efforts for this great state of Georgia. Lord, continue to help us make good decisions that are in what's best of our citizens here. Watch over us, keep us healthy and safe. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, really quick, I just want to mention the tragic loss yesterday of Chairman Irwin's admin, somebody that trained our admin, Graham, and had been a part of the Capitol for a long time. A lot of people say if we can just have a brief word of silence for her, please. Amen. Thank you, members, and everybody in the audience out there. Today we've got an issue before us. Been kind of around for 2 years. I want to thank Chairman Camp. She dealt with this last year, and this is, of course, continued on. I do want to let everyone know good committee etiquette is encouraged by the chair, and so I know that you got a little. Emotions were a little hot last year, and we're going to make sure we don't have that this year, and we just have good communication from the presenter and those that are for and those that are against this issue. I've said that, and so we will go ahead and recognize Chairman Rick Williams from Milledgeville to present SB 260.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not something new. This original legislation was passed back in 2012, and this created the Central State Redevelopment Authority, and it was put under the Department of Community Affairs. And last year I had brought forward legislation because it's gotten to 9 members on that board. So it was very hard for the members to get a meeting set up, to agree when to have a meeting, and to even be workable on some of the situations there. And I introduced a bill that was going to move it to 3 members. And those members were going to be appointed by the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker. Well, in the effort of trying to compromise, the city and the county both wanted a seat, so that's what I've done. I gave the city and the county a seat. So it brings the board to 5 members. 5 members is what our county commissioners are, and that's a good number. This bill also takes it out of the Department of Community Affairs. I had numerous conversations with different people here in the Capitol, different offices, and even with the Department of Community Affairs, and they told me that it should have never been put under them, that they don't have the ability to oversee this Central State redevelopment. There again, this is over 2,000 acres, over 200 buildings that have been abandoned, and they're just sitting. There has been some movement there to repurpose these buildings, and before you, the bill, and I can go through it section by section, but on line 80, the authority is authorized to acquire, construct, operate, maintain, expand, improve a project for the purpose of promoting trade, commerce, industry, and employment opportunities within the state for the public good and general welfare, and without limitation of the foregoing, with the approval of the State Properties Commission to acquire land for such purposes. And so this legislation is putting this redevelopment committee under the state properties where it should be and where they will have the oversight. On line 113, it says the authorities shall have the power with the approval of the State Properties Commission to lease any improved or unimproved land or other property acquired by it under this code section to the local government for a term not to exceed 50 years, but upon other such terms and conditions as the authority may determine necessary or convenient, any such lease may be for and in consideration of even $1 annually for each calendar year. And so what this is trying to do is very much trying to bring redevelopment to a very blighted side of our community. When Central State Hospital shut down and we lost all those jobs, that side of town has really suffered. There's a good bit of blight. I've ridden through the neighborhoods there, and whatever we can do to bring jobs or to bring that side of town back to life is what I'm after. I've made a good faith to compromise and offer to. There on line 131, 130, on section 50-41-3, that's where it outlines how the members would be appointed. And then on the next page, on line 160, this authority may create subcommittees as it deems appropriate. The authority may appoint as members of the subcommittees such individuals from the community as the authority deems appropriate. So this is giving them more latitude to get more local people involved without bearing down and breaking down the ability of them to meet and to work on meetings. It also will, the members shall be reimbursed up to, $100 per meeting for no more than 3 meetings per month. And in speaking with the chairman of that board, even this morning and yesterday, talking about this bill, there was many times that he wished they could meet 2 and 3 times a month and not just once a month. In doing real estate deals and people trying to make a decision, a lot of times time is money. And that's what we're looking at, is trying to be expeditiously as we can. The line 181, the general purpose of the authority is declared to be that of executing and administering the reuse plan for the property formerly occupied by Central State Hospital, executing economic development conveyances for such property formerly occupied by Central State Hospital resulting from the closure or realignment of Central State Hospital so as to ameliorate the impact of such closure or realignment on the communities and residents of the city of Milledgeville and Baldwin County, extending and improving such projects, acquiring the necessary property thereof, both real and personal, with the right to contract for the use of or to lease or sell any of or all of such facilities. This Central State redevelopment is not a long-term entity set up. This Central State redevelopment is set up to work themselves out of a job, to repurpose the properties and repurpose the buildings, to get economic development on that side of town. With my insistence, the real estate contracts now have a clause that if the project is not started within 3 years, or if the project is abandoned on any sales of that property, then it will revert back to the Central State Hospital Authority. What we had was some people who actually bought some of those properties in the past and have just sat on them. They bought them out of speculation, thinking, okay, things are going to happen, and when it does, I'm going to make some money on this. This is not what Central State redevelopment is all about. It's about finding the best use of the property and people who have a business plan who can buy the property and develop it and create jobs and get this property back on the tax base. We have over 6,000 acres of state property in Baldwin County. A lot of it belongs to the Department of Juvenile Justice, and it's just sitting there vacant. So we don't have as large a tax base as a lot of counties because it's state-owned property, and we have Georgia College there, and the university pays no property taxes. So, you know, we're kind of at a standstill on creating more or drawing more revenue. Trying to think if there was anything else. I'd be glad to answer any questions. If you turn to page 11, each year the authorities shall have made an independent audit and examination of the authority's financial records and transactions. Such audits shall be made in accordance with established national audit and accounting standards, and those will be sent to state properties. The State Properties Commission and this board has a close relationship, and they pretty much stay in touch with what's going on, what deals are going on, and right now we still have that kitchen that has our authority on the hook for about $8 million. So that is something they're continually trying to move also. Be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your presentation. Just a little housekeeping order here. If anybody wants to speak, even representative from Putnam County, would need you to sign up since you're not on the committee. Baldwin County, my bad. But if you wouldn't mind signing up, please. We do have a couple questions. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To my friend over here that I can see the back of your head. I remember this bill from last year. It seems like it was LC number 620217S. And it was presented, it passed through this committee, and then it also, best I can understand, passed through rules, or at least was presented in rules. Can you just really quickly tell me if there was any differences between this and the version that we passed last year?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Representative. Yes, so basically, after the pushback last session, because like I had stated earlier, I had proposed 3 members, and those were to be appointed by the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker. I had pushback from the city and the county. And so I was trying to, in good faith, compromise, offer the county an appointment and the city an appointment. In your packet, you've been handed a letter from our chairman of our Baldwin County Commissioners, Chairman Kendrick Butts, who I discussed with him, and he submitted this letter to Chairman McDonald. I had a conversation with the mayor, and she told me she was fine with it, yet I never received a letter from her.
If I may, Mr. Chair. Okay, so it sounds like to me that last year this passed through the committee. However, in the off season, you took more opportunity to continue to engage with local members of the community, and they've, it sounds like, is it fair to say that you found some compromise there?
That is correct. I had tried and reached out to reach a compromise, and that's why the change in the LC number and the other change was it took it from the Department of Community Affairs. In meeting in the governor's office with the Department of Community Affairs, they had stated this was not something that they were prepared to oversee, that they actually did not oversee this type of authorities. So that's the reason for the change.
Well, thank you, Mr. Senator. I appreciate that. So in substance, nothing's really changed. You've made a couple small procedural modifications, but otherwise, substantively, it's the same as it was last year.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Was that a question?
Yes. It was a yes or no. It's a friendly question. Sorry if you can't hear me.
Yep.
Is that better? My question is, it sounds like to me, from what I'm hearing the senator say, is that you have made a couple procedural changes, but substantively, this is the same bill that we passed out last year.
Yes, sir, pretty much so.
All right, thank you. That's what I need to know. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Whip Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a few questions, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. So, as I've had an opportunity now to do a bit of a deeper dive, I think I've become a little more concerned in terms of what I'm, reading in this bill. So, just to confirm what you just said, this would no longer be underneath the Department of Community Affairs. Is that correct?
That is correct. Department of Community Affairs, the director actually stated that it should have never been put under them, that they do not oversee this type of authority.
So this would create a wholly independent state authority that's not under any state agency?
They're under the State Properties Division.
State property. So
Yes,
so given how this is written very, very broadly, we're creating a brand new state authority that has the ability to acquire, sell, provide bonds, I think on lines 3.
That was in the original legislation already.
So, but of course that original was, that was previously under DCA 9. This is going to be essentially independent, correct?
Well, the DCA never actually oversaw it.
Okay.
But
So,
the State Properties Division would have a direct supervision of this. Yes, sir.
so per lines, let's see, 302, 303, the authority shall not be required to pay any taxes or assessments upon any of the acquired or leased properties. This would, per lines 259, also permit this authority to issue an unlimited number of bonds for the purpose of paying all or any part of any project that they would choose. Is that correct?
That is correct. And this authority had actually done that already when they went through and sold that Parham Kitchen on this property in the past and issued some bonds and co-signed the loan through the USDA. And I think that original loan was around $11 million, and now it's down to about between $7 and $8 million. So, yeah, none of that has changed really. It's just who it's reporting to.
So it's just a state taking over kind of and having this, power that has existed at the local level. Is that what you're saying?
It already had the power to do those things that's mentioned in here. Yes, sir.
Are there any patients currently being seen at any of the properties that would be impacted?
No. There's still some residents there, but those are under the ownership of DBHDD, so they would not be affected.
So per lines 89 to 91, this is saying that the authority shall consider the impact it would have on the Central State Hospital, DBHDD, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, as needed. This bill also on lines 48 essentially states that any determination made by this authority would be final and not subject to review. And then, of course, I appreciate the concession in allowing at least some of the local folks to appoint 2 of the 5 but that still ultimately permits a state takeover from how I read it, in which essentially you could have three folks who have no connection to the area that, for all we know, could have a bunch of, economic, financial interests come in under this new authority, make determinations. Even if the two local folks are opposed, the two local folks would be outvoted every single time, given the structure of this. That determination would then be not subject to review, in which, frankly, I'm concerned that given this structure, it could leave Milledgeville bankrupt, or even in a far worse position, certainly given the broad authority of this authority to issue bonds and acquire properties and issue them again without any sort of review whatsoever. So, how would you address those concerns? And certainly, can you better explain how this would benefit, especially those living in and around that area?
Well, kind of a long question. I'll do my best. In the bill, it said that no member or employee of the authority shall have, directly or indirectly, any financial interest, profit, or benefit in any contract, work, or business of the authority, not in the sale, lease, or purchase of any property to or from the authority. Also, this would never bankrupt Milledgeville, the city of Milledgeville. The city of Milledgeville is having issues replacing infrastructure now, so they have their own issues that they're trying to deal with, and they've passed some bond issues to borrow money to replace water lines. But you have to remember, this is not Milledgeville's property. This is the state of Georgia's property that happens to be in Baldwin County. Now, this property didn't used to be in the city of Milledgeville. It was all in the county. When Mayor James Ball was in office in the 80s through, I think it was the 1990 census, there were 15,000 mental residents out there in this hospital. There's only 15,000 residents in the city of Milledgeville. He annexed all of that property so he could claim 30,000 residents in the city of Milledgeville to up what grants and things that the city of Milledgeville would be benefit of. The city of Milledgeville actually bought the waterworks at Central State Hospital. They own that. The Central State Hospital is not one building, and I wish all of you could come and tour this facility. Representative Katie Dempsey was there for Georgia War Veterans Home ribbon cutting when they opened the PTSD unit and the 14-bed transitional unit, the only one in the world like it. And I took her on a tour of Central State Hospital grounds. And she told me, we had a mental institution in Cartersville, but it was one building. It was not 2,000 acres and over 200 buildings. There was an actual 155,000 square foot hospital built on that facility called the Culver Kid Hospital that is now sitting there abandoned, and we're trying to get someone to go into that building. This authority will not, because of clauses, and they are very much scrutinized in the local news media. We've had members to actually quit that were bankers that were actually doing some good things. They sold a bunch of the homes there. At one time during the 60s, when Castro took over Cuba, we had Cubans leave Cuba in rowboats, and they actually came to Milledgeville, and they were able to practice medicine while they were studying for their American board to get their license in the United States. I hope I've answered your question. We have, I don't anticipate the governor, lieutenant governor, or speaker sending someone from Atlanta down to Milledgeville to deal with this for $100 a meeting, and some of their meetings lasting 3 and 4 hours. That I just don't see that happening. But then again, it may be beneficial to have some people from out of town that would come sit on this authority, because a newspaper sells newspapers by promoting the dissension on this board and the adverse publicity, and it just keeps on going. And I'm trying to bring peace and harmony to my community, and I'm trying to redevelop my community.
Senator, all due respect, I think given the concerns from another representative, elected official from your community, who has a lot of concerns with this, I don't necessarily know if this is necessarily bringing peace regarding this issue. A few more questions, if I may. Is there any current development project that was pending that the current authority refused, that this new authority may then accept? I'm trying to get a better understanding of why, especially if we've had a similar authority in place, haven't read their bylaws or structure certainly, but what would this change other than taking away local control?
9 members is what has changed, and that is the issue. And that's where I had members quitting, and the executive director and other people that were working out there that were giving of their time. Former Senator Johnny Grant was running this out there for a while. This gentleman took his own personal lawnmower out there, cut grass around some of these buildings. I would request that you come see how the kudzu is growing over these buildings and just how dilapidated and falling in. It looks like scenes out of some horror movie or something, a lot of them, because the buildings are just decaying and falling in. And there's some contracts and some properties that have been sold. But changing this board is not going to affect any of those contracts or those projects.
So last question. Again, it's been nearly a year and a half or so since this bill passed this committee, and almost the entire similar version as mentioned by my other colleague. Has the mayor, the city council, has the county, have they provided a written letter of support or a formal resolution providing support, or do we just have verbal statements?
You have a letter from the chairman of the Baldwin County Commissioners. The other commissioners were fine with that. I have asked the mayor repeatedly for time to put this on the agenda for city council, and frankly, I never hear back from her.
So I would assume then the city's opposed. Typically, at least, given my time on intergovernmental coordination for the past 10 years, we typically have, resolutions of support passed by a city and a county. I appreciate our new chair wanting to ensure that we're not having unnecessary local disputes with respect
That resolution was passed on the last bill, the version, where it was 3 members, and I've asked the mayor. And like I stated, she told me herself that she was fine with adding a seat to be appointed by the city and a seat to be appointed by the county. Matter of fact, one of the newly elected city council people are sitting on that board.
Again, while I certainly want to trust what you say, oftentimes you got to trust but verify down here, in which my hope would be that given the very important effect of this state takeover of such a critical component in Milledgeville, that there be something in writing from your local elected officials to again ensure that we're not causing additional fights, but we are ultimately trying to move this in the right direction with everyone on board, would be my hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Whip Park. Representative Miles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, I have some question. I remember this bill from last year. One of the driving reasons for bringing this to us last year because we could not get enough members on the board to have the board to have a quorum. And that was immediately solved, I think, before even the bill passed out of here. So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what the impetus is. What is your, are we saying that this new board is going to be more effective than the board that was there, or they're going to be able to move a lot of this property a lot? I don't see anything in the bill that says it's going to show me anything that this board is going to be able to do that the board that's presently there is not doing. The other thing is, like I said, like with parks, we're taking more authority from the local and we're giving it. Another thing was state takeover, which the people don't have any interest in the community development there. And I think, I don't know whether you're saying that the mayor said that she would be good with just those two appointments, but I just don't understand what is the emphasis for providing this new board now at this time.
Well, the issue and the issue before was 9 members. 9 members on a board. If you can get 9 people to agree on a meeting, and that's what they've tried to do to have a quorum, and so the quorum would be 5 members, but then if they held the meeting with just 5 members and not all 9 members, then there's a lot of pushback. So they've tried to be fair and they've tried to work together, which has not always gone that way. Like I said, I've met in the governor's office. They've talked to everyone involved. This language came from the governor's office. I offered several substitutes and worked with Ledge Council, and this is what we came up with, and this is what we feel like will handle this project. This is, no, you won't hear about any project like this in the state of Georgia anywhere, because there's not another Milledgeville in Georgia. Over 2,000 acres and over 200 buildings, and a lot of these buildings are just falling in, caving in. There's college students going out there ghost hunting, getting in these buildings, and this board is trying very hard. But to get 9 people to agree on something, it's just been impossible to even get 9 members to agree when to have a meeting. That has been an issue. And they finally, because one of the people on the board got elected to city council, and the nights they were meeting on Thursday night was the same night that city council was meeting. They were forced to change it to another time.
Okay, sir. But okay, thank you. You've been very clear about that. But I'm somewhat still have a problem with how is this board going to change, except for the numbers. You said that if we don't have 5 now, you'll be more of a have a better chance to have a quorum, and that's the only reason we're doing this.
That's the main reason, yes, sir. It's nine members on that board now, and one of the members actually doesn't even live in town. I think this person actually lives in Atlanta, stays in Atlanta mostly during the week, and maybe goes back to Milledgeville on the weekends. But it's just difficult to get 9 people together, and that's been the big issue, yes, sir.
Okay. In your negotiation in the governor's office, were there any local people present, part of the conversation?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Miles. One quick question just from the chair. I know we've kept talking about the 9 members. Can you tell me the makeup of the 9 members? I know you just mentioned one that is possibly in Atlanta that comes home on the weekends. Or are all members residents of Baldwin County?
Yes, sir.
All 9
We
are.
have a realtor and just local people that are serving on that board now. And the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker have had appointments on that board, so they could have already appointed someone from out of town if they so desired.
Thank you. Representative Dawson.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome. I'm glad we're finally meeting. I kept checking my calendar. I was worried I wasn't on the invite list, you know.
You barely made it.
Good. And I just had a friendly question for the senator. From your perspective, I guess we're going to hear from Representative Griffin about his opposition to the bill. But from your perspective, a friendly question, what do you understand to be the opposition to the legislation that you're proposing? What's going on here? It seems like a Solomon dilemma you're facing. So what do you think the nature of the opposition to your legislation is?
I don't know what the nature of the opposition is. I just know that it's 9 people, and trying to get 9 people that have other jobs. And all of their meetings are in the evening, I think around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And they will go till 9 o'clock at night. And just trying to get them to be able to meet. And when a real estate deal has come up, as any of us that have bought and sold property realize sometimes time is of the essence. Somebody is looking at buying a piece of property there or somewhere else. And when it takes, and if they've just had a meeting, then it's going to be a month before they even meet to talk about the offer on the property. And then they will give it to the real estate committee, and that could be another 2 or 3 weeks, and then another month, and it just drags on. And I've had local people that have tried to buy property. One of them, Mr. Martin, bought one of the old fire stations to put his garage in, and it took forever to get that property changed. What you have to remember is a lot of this property is not in the name of Central State Hospital redevelopment. A lot of the property, and most of it, is actually in the name of the state of Georgia. And so when someone wants to buy this property, then they go to the Central State Redevelopment Authorization Authority. They then in turn go to state properties and say, hey, we've got a prospect buyer. This is their business plan. This is what they're offering. This is what they're wanting to do. Again, remember, I had them put in all sales contracts that if the project is not started within 3 years, or if it's ever abandoned, that property will revert back to Central State Redevelopment and back, in essence, to the state of Georgia.
Representative Geisler? Gisler. All right, we'll get there. All right. My friend from Athens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I appreciate the history about Milledgeville. You mentioned that this property is owned by the state of Georgia, but to make sure I understand, as of right now, it is entirely within the city limits of Milledgeville, correct?
I can't understand you, I'm sorry.
The property is entirely within the city limits of Milledgeville?
Yes, it
Okay.
was annexed by a former mayor.
Right. And the purpose of this redevelopment authority is, like you said, to work themselves out of a job, right? Which means they could sell this land to private developers, other public entities, any number of people. So I understand the complications with herding cats and having 9 members on a board that meets once a month. I completely understand that. But given that the property is within the city limits of Milledgeville, shouldn't the city have more authority over what happens with that property?
Well, I wouldn't say so, because you remember it's in Baldwin County also, and so the Baldwin County and the city both would have a seat on the board. Here again, we're just trying to keep the board lean so that they can operate and meet, even have meetings online or whatever when the need arises, so that they can try to be and move expeditiously. That's the big thing, having 9 members and being able to get them together to talk about projects or talk about a possible property contract or sale. Sometimes will take a month to get them, and they will not meet on a special called meeting. They want to wait, no, we'll take it up at our next meeting. Well, the deal has gone cold and the person has moved on. That time is of the essence a lot of times to do business, and they're ready to move on.
Sure, I understand that, but I still think that the authority should have more of a mandate from the city where the property is located to have a say in those deals.
Well, I understand that, but here again, remember this is state property that happens to be in Millersville, Baldwin County. So, you know, and I've heard the pushback of they could appoint someone from somewhere else, but they didn't. So the people that are on the board now, one of them is actually a city council person. And so and some of the other members actually live in the city limits that the county commissioner have appointed and put on. Matter of fact, the chairman of the board, who is here to testify, I think he actually lives downtown Milledgeville, and he is a resident of the city of Milledgeville. Most of them are residents of the city of Milledgeville.
But this legislation doesn't require that.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Matiak.
Yeah, let me try it again. Is that better? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I know you can't see me because I'm behind the behind the screen.
Yes,
I'm the voice behind the
I'll see
screen.
you.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of how long the 9-member board was in existence?
This, I don't remember exactly when. I think my predecessor, Rusty Kidd.
So it's been a while,
Yeah,
correct?
had some legislation changed, and that actually gave the senator and the representative 2 appointments, along with the city and the county 2 appointments. And I don't remember exactly. The governor had 1, the lieutenant governor had 1, and the speaker had 1, I think. And then the representative had 2, the senator had 2,
Gotcha.
if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha. In your estimation, from what I'm hearing you say, it was very difficult to get any business done. Anytime you tried to sell properties, the deal was gone because it took too long to get a board together to make a decision. Am I hearing that correctly?
That is correct. Matter of fact, one of the guys on the board, one of them is a realtor, and one of them actually develops property. And, you know, they've told me, you know, these people come to us, they're ready to do business, they're ready to make an offer, they're ready to develop something, and it takes 3 months before they can even get back to them. I'm not waiting 3 months. Anybody in business, they're ready to move on.
Yes, sir. I was one of the people that you got to tour through that property years ago.
Yeah.
I think we weren't much more than freshmen when I got to see that, because we had such a great vision for our veterans, our
Right.
homeless veterans, and the bones of those buildings are really in pretty good shape. Now, as time marched on, we were told that it was too expensive to renovate. Now, we know that Youth Challenge was there, and I understand they're not there anymore. Is that correct?
That is correct. The DBHDD has possession of that building, and they have it just sitting there in case another hurricane comes to the coast. Then they would evacuate their people from the coast to there.
Can I ask another? I forgot to ask, Mr. Chairman. The other building that I personally was interested in was that hospital.
Right.
because the bones of the hospital are good, and we were told that they were keeping the air conditioning at a minimum, heat as a minimum, so they wouldn't lose that building. Is that still viable, or?
No, they have cut off the heat, they've cut off the air
I was
conditioning
afraid of that.
because it was so expensive.
Yes, sir.
Actually, that building has been vandalized. There's been some vandals stealing copper out of the building. The police did put up some cameras and did catch some people. And so what we've got is a crumbling facade of all of this stuff, and nobody is trying to make it better.
So thus, a better board to take better care
To
of
move
state
quicker,
properties.
to make the deals happen, and to move on and get things done.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm going to let Representative Griffin present to this bill at this point. No disrespect, Whip Park. I want to go ahead and I want to hear what Representative Griffin has to say. I know you're smart enough to hold your questions a few, and then we'll get back to it. Okay.
I'm on.
You're on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, for informing me about this time yesterday. We were going to have this committee meeting. At that same time, I contacted the mayor, and I contacted the senior person on the authority to see if I could get them here today. But, you know, you can understand that the mayor's 2 hours away. The senior person that's been on the board longer than anyone else, Dr. Joy Nelson, works here in Atlanta, although she's a resident of Millersville, but she has a very important meeting every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Now, what we have done, and they have agreed to attempt to do, is to get on, I don't know if it's through Zoom or telephone. Now, the mayor texted me about an hour ago and said she was on, and I'm not sure about Dr. Nelson. Now, let me say this. The senator and I are kind of sort of good friends, okay? And we are. I've known him for the last 3 decades that I've been back in Millersville because we are funeral practitioners. Now, I'm from Millersville. I was born there, and my family's property, where I was born, is less than a mile from Central State Hospital. I understand Central State. Now, my good friend, he's been gaslighting you all a lot, okay? That's why I need to have the mayor and someone from the authority to speak to this group before you make a major decision that you're going to make. Now, we talk about the chairman of the Baldwin County Board of Commissioners. Now, I've been a mayor, and the mayor can't make certain, can make decisions, but not for the community, for the board, without some type of approval, and normally it's through resolutions or, what is that one I'm trying to say? Resolutions, I say that. Same thing over in the county commission. This letter was, this is an individual opinion. It's not the opinions of the county commission. If so, then they should pass a document to state. Now, and y'all have a package from the last meeting we had a little bit over a year ago. You have a resolution in there from the city of Millersville not supporting this. You also have a document from the Baldwin, the Baldwin newspaper, the Union Recorder, which is the official newspaper for the county and the city. They did not go along with this. Now, Mr. Chair, I want to ask, as I continue, I want to ask a question of someone, LC 620510S. When was this, what date is this? Because I had my staff to go in on yesterday and pull up the bill, and I got LC 620217S. So I got two different substitutes here, and I have a good reason for asking the question on LC 620510S. I'd like to know, when was this, what's the date on this?
Is that a question for the chair?
I'm sorry, yes, sir. The chair.
All right. We received this substitute yesterday.
Okay. Now let me tell you what happened. I received a call last Friday, it could have been Thursday, but Thursday or Friday, from the governor's office, Miss Amy, stating to me that they had another bill that they wanted me to see and see if I would go along with it. And I basically told her at this late date in the session, I'm not sure if I would go along with that. And what was it, a local bill or a general bill? And she basically, I think she told me it was a local bill. I said, it's going to be almost impossible to get it through with 4 days, whatever the days were left, 3 or 4 days. And basically she said, well, I think we can get that done. But what I'm trying to say, I have not seen this until today when I picked up my folder. The mayor has not seen this. The county commissioners have not seen this, nor have the present board. There should have been some communications. After we were able to stop this bill last year in rules, I asked, the senator and I have had discussion. I said, let's have a meeting and bring all these people together and see if we can come up with a solution that will meet the requirements, not only of he and I, but the other players involved in this. Now, the senator has been in the House for I don't know how long, and in the Senate for how long. Why hasn't this come up before? I'm going to tell you why it came up. When I was running for office, I had a number of people telling me that there were some concerns out at Central State Hospital. Not with their board, it's the number of people on the board, but it was because of some hanky-panky going on out there. Now, you all know what I'm talking about when I say hanky-panky.
I'd like for you to tell the chairman what you mean by
That's why I wanted
hanky-panky.
you to ask me that question.
Please.
There probably was some misappropriating of funds. There were people out there making deals and so forth. So they came to me, they talked to me, various individuals talked to me. And I said, there's nothing I can do about that until I get elected. When I got elected, I asked them to put in writing to me their concerns. I evaluated that. I had my personal attorney to help me evaluate that to determine if it was something that I should pursue. I sent a letter and all of the documentation to the Inspector General to take a look at this after I was sworn in, okay? And the document is about this thick. the Inspector General is still looking at this, and the last conversation I had with him was before the end of the year. Not that the look, I know how Inspector Generals work. I was in the military and I dealt with them. They all work the same. They didn't tell me what they were doing and et cetera, other than that the inspection is going on. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, after I did that, then a bill came out to make some changes. Okay? And I'm asking myself, well, why is this coming out after I introduce an Inspector General? Okay. Now, let me tell you this. There's no problem with 9 people being on a board. They haven't had all of these problems my good friend has been telling you about. There has been some challenges. The problem has been management and leadership. Okay? And one of the persons he mentioned, and I'm not going to call the person's name, was one of the problems. Okay? And on top of that, the present chairman of the board just came on about about a month or two. They only had one meeting. He's a good guy. He's going to help clean this stuff up because the chair before him, I did whatever I could to get him to resign from being the chair, which he did. I go to the meetings when I can to see what's going on. Now, I'm telling you all, if this bill passed this body, I'm talking about the House, there's going to be some problems until we sit down as leaders in this state, in this House, and make sure that when we make this change, if we make changes, which there probably are some things that need to be done, that it is done correctly. The board, if we pass this bill before we leave, all of the board members are gone. When you read this, it says when the governor signs it. Okay? All of the board members are gone. So we got to go out and find new board members. I thought maybe those could be reappointed. But still, that's the process we got to go through. And you all should definitely want to hear from the mayor. You should also want to hear from the county commission and someone from the board before decisions are made. So now, one other thing in the last, when this bill was presented early on, one of the things the senator said, and the question was asked, why do you need this bill? He said, because it's hard to find people to serve on the board. About a week later or less, this document came out from the governor, where the governor made his appointment. I made my two appointments, and the senator made his 2 appointments. Now, the person he appointed about 6 months later resigned. And within a few days, he had appointed someone else. So where is the difficulty in finding people to serve? There are people in Millersville, Baldwin County, want to serve on this board. Central State Hospital should continue to have major input from the local community. And on top of that, Mr. Chair, this is a new bill. It says Central State Hospital Redevelopment Authority. When the last bill, or the bill that's in place now, the law that's in place now, is Central State Hospital local redevelopment authority. There's a lot of concerns here.
Thank you, Mr. Representative. One, I want to thank you for refraining from mentioning names. I do appreciate that. I do want to quickly get to some of the people that are online to speak, but I do have from our treasurer a quick question from Representative Earhart.
Thank you. And I'm not sure whether I should direct this question to Representative Griffin or Senator Williams. I know I want to make sure I got the answer to the question about how long the current 9-person board has been in place. How many years has this been going on? And I'm wondering, does it go back to? Did you?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Did you say what year did Central State shut its doors to inpatients? Do we know? Has it been 5? Has it been 50? I don't know.
Maybe the senator can answer that. It's been pretty much close to 30 years that I've been back in Millersville. And one other thing, in answering that question, I forgot what I was going to say. It said I'd come back
Happens
to
to me sometimes too. But has the current board been in place? Was the board, or maybe Senator Williams, was the board established at the time that the doors were closed to oversee? No. I'm trying to understand how long this has been.
It closed, I think, in the 80s. This was part of the Olmstead Act that has now been set aside. And so that's why we're now building this mental institution that we've appropriated the money for. But it was in the 80s, and DBHDD still has some facilities there. But there was around 15,000 residents, patients, and about 12,000 employees. So it was a city within itself. It had its own police department, own fire department, its own waterworks, its own post office, its own zip code.
Right. I thought it was interesting. It sounded to me like the city of Milledgeville's population doubled.
It was.
When it acquired that. So, again, back to the board where we can't get a quorum.
Well, that board now, several of them resigned because of the squabbling on the board, and it's still going on. It's hard to
Has that been going on for a while?
It's been going on a while.
Are we talking about 5 years?
At least about that,
or
yes.
more, okay.
As a matter of fact, I had 2 bankers on that board, and they were running it like a business, and they have over $1 million in the bank now where they sold houses, and they're revitalized the houses, and they're getting them ready to rent out, and that's in process. And also there's a small data center out there, and they're actually making about $17,000 a month rent on that. And all of that money is in audit and is being accounted for.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to, I'm noticing this letter from Chairman Butts from the Baldwin County, and I think this is very well stated. Central State Hospital property is an asset of historic, cultural, and economic significance to the state of Georgia. And the redevelopment of the Central State Hospital campus has the potential to serve as a catalyst for regional economic development, job creation, and private sector investment. I like this last sentence. With thoughtful planning and coordinated governments, the property can support and strengthen the local and regional economy. Senator Williamson, would you say that the current board has done anything positive to achieve this goal?
No. They're working, but it's so divided. It's so divided, trying to get everybody together to agree on anything. And it's having 9 people and then they don't get involved, they don't come or even read the minutes, they don't know. And so at the meeting, they spend all their time trying to catch them up on the minutes and the email that they have sent them that they're not coordinating with.
Right. And Representative Griffin, I know that you said that you've been from that area from a long, long time. You know Central State Hospital, but hear me when I say this. I mean no insult in any way, but I have not heard a single thing in this committee today that makes me put any faith in the current committee and the current formation, not only a failure to, it sounds to me like it's been an abject failure, not only the inability to get a quorum and have meetings, but to have productive meetings. And then now I'm hearing, some of maybe some of the illegalities. I'm not quite sure the extent of some of that. For someone that knows and loves Central State Hospital and that property, I would ask you, do you not want the best for that property in your community?
To answer your question, yes, I want the best for that. But see, what y'all are doing today, you're hearing from the senator and I. You're not hearing their allegations about the board, and we don't have anyone here who's been on the board forever to speak to that. And let me say one other thing, if I may, Mr. Chair. When they closed Central State down, the state of Georgia did Milledgeville, Baldwin County, and this state a disservice. They shut it down, and it just sat there. Now, from what I understand, and this happened before I came back, a little bit after I came back, former House member Rusty Kidd and the city of Milledgeville got together and came up with this redevelopment authority. The city of Milledgeville loaned the authority over $100,000 to get this thing started. Now, all of this red lighting and stuff I'm hearing, that's not what I'm hearing from since I've been involved with the authority, and I was involved with the authority before, at least going to meetings, etc., before I became before I was elected. So look, y'all need, I'm serious about this now. You need, do we have Dr. Nelson on, or the mayor?
I appreciate you asking that. At this time, since you offered for us to go online, we're going to have the mayor of Milledgeville, Mayor Parham, to come up and online and speak to us. Mayor, can you unmute yourself, please? This room has its own challenges for media, so bear with us just a second. But while we're waiting for the mayor, and mayor, just continue to talk till we can hear you. But I want to thank both sides here for the committee etiquette we're doing right now and the dialogue that we're having. I just want to thank you. We're going to pause for 1 second to see if we can get the mayor up, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As I've listened to the conversation throughout the whole meeting, starting with Senator Williams and I are good comrades here in the city of Milledgeville. When he first asked me about whether or not I would have opposed or not opposed of an extra member or breaking the board down from 9 to 5, I shared with him that I was okay, but then I was reminded that we had put in place a resolution as a mayor and council board that I could not override. I took that back to the board. The board did not want that overrode. They wanted to stay and remain the same. Now, I've heard from point A to point B how it got started. When Senator Rusty Kidd had it as a 11 board member, it came all the way down to 9. Now he wants to take it to 5. I have not seen anything that is not moving forward now. Yes, there have been some disagreements because there wasn't an ED in place. They moved the ED who should have been managing the operations. When it was set up by the city of Milledgeville at the sum of $203,000 a year starting in 2012. Milledgeville, the city of Milledgeville, funded that joint venture solely by itself. The county didn't want a part of it. Nobody wanted a part of it. So from 2012 all the way up until, let me give you the dates because I have them right here.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Yes, from 2012 all the way to 2020, it was funded at a sum of $203,000 till it got all the way down to $1,635,035 paid by the city of Millersville. We as a city did not even know it had been taken off and under our hands. They told us that it had been put in the paper. Then State Representative Williams said it was put in the paper. I contacted him personally. I contacted then Senator Burt Jones and spoke with him, and he could tell me, well, it had already been passed to the governor, and we knew nothing of it. We gave the former ED out there the money to go do what he needed to do. We were the last people to get paid the little bit of money that was owed to us. The whole structure of it went backwards instead of being handled rightly. And so since then, we have still had properties being sold, the board not knowing anything about it. The object of the building out there is not to make money, it's to bring the economic base back. You're not out there just to sit and make millions of dollars and hold on it, but you're supposed to get the economic base back. We just got in the paperwork where we're getting the streets deeded over to us in the city of Millersville. We bought the old fire station, and the old police department was given to us. So therefore, the city of Millersville has much history and economic base that we want to bring to that side and bring it back the right way. The board members there, they are meeting. The young man that's in place right now, I can call him, and it's like 2 minutes later, he's calling me back and saying, Mayor, I have this for you. Please come make this presentation. As a matter of fact, I'll be making a presentation to them next month about how the city is solely sold out to make sure that that piece of property, that area, those 200 acres, come back alive. Senator Williams was there when Jody Heiss came down when I first came in office in 2018 and went out to the Cover Kid building. My thing then was we need to revitalize. We have so much to offer having a city within a city. But as far as this board goes, I think they function fine with the 9. They just had to make some changes, and since they've made those changes, it appears to me that they're getting along just great. I keep a check on them constantly, and I will be attending the meetings. I have went through an illness, but I'm up and back, so I'll be at their meetings regularly.
Madam Mayor, we've got
Thank you for your time.
We've got a question that from Whip Park, but before I call on Whip Park, I do have a question from the chair. You mentioned the $203,000 back in 2012. Was that has there been the sale of property at Central State, and with that sale, what is in the account now, and or has that $203 been reimbursed back to the city from the sale of any properties?
They have a little bit over $1 million in their bank now. They have paid us everything that they own, including a line of credit we gave them of $70,000 in 2017. He just paid that back last year. So, like I said, the city itself paid $1,635,000. As far as the $203,000, I'm trying to figure it out myself. I ask the question all the time, well, who's supposed to pay that back? The state? I think Senator Williams said that the state had fully paid us back. And when I checked with the finance department, they said no one had paid us back other than the former ED, the line of credit, and the funding that he owed us. And that's all we received was the $70,000.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
That's a lot of money if we don't care, sir.
I've got a question from Whip Park.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Mayor, thank you for your testimony and for being with us. As I've been doing a little bit of research, given how this authority has been characterized as a failure, There's been local reporting that states that the city, as well as Baldwin County, they had invested about $2.1 million that resulted in about $126 million worth of economic development during the first decade, just up until a few years ago. Is that true?
Up until a few years ago, you're correct. Possibly 3. The former ED got into a situation where he had to get a line of credit from somewhere, and instead of coming to us, he went to the county, allowed them to buy the Lawrence building, and turned around and paid them back their $250,000. But look at what we paid for it. We started it. They didn't want any part of it. Still don't want any part of it, truth be told. But we have an active involvement that we are here to see that place come back to life and function. The board itself is functioning fine. Since they made some moves, as State Representative Griffin said, they're functioning well.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes, $2 million worth of local investments from a locally controlled authority generating $120 million worth of economic development sounds more like success, in my opinion, though y'all may be having some current temporary issues right now. But thank you for your answer.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got some more people that want to testify before the committee, so I do appreciate your time and testimony for us, Madam Mayor. So if you'll just kind of hang in there and listen to as we bring on Dr. Joy Nelson. Dr. Joy Nelson, are you online with us? Try unmuting your mic, Dr. Nelson.
Hi, can you hear me now, Chair?
We can, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time and attention into this matter. Just to introduce myself, my name is Dr. Joyce Flynn Nelson, and I am originally from Milledgeville, Georgia. And yes, although I do have business dealings in Atlanta. Milledgeville is my home. It's where I vote. It's where my mother lives. So I am very much a part of that community, and I live on that side of time. I do have a couple of things that I would like to talk about, if you don't mind. One of which is to start with Senator Williams. Senator Williams has attended 4 meetings that I have known of since I've been on the board, and I attend all the meetings. And Senator Williams has given us high praise. Every time he comes to our meetings, he tells us how great a job we're doing. And to say that nobody's trying to make it better, and I wrote that as a quote, I think is categorically false. And to talk about attendance rates, we have a 99% attendance rate, okay? The other thing that I want to talk about is not agreeing. We agree unanimously 96% of the time. So we are not going to agree all of the time, but 96% unanimous vote for or against whatever the legislation is or whatever proposal is. That's a pretty good rate, and 99% attendance is really, really, really great. Also, we're a volunteer board, so the members that are on that board have passion, and they devote and dedicate their time freely and willingly to the Central State Hospital Local Redevelopment Authority. And there was also a concern about the time it takes to actually transfer properties or get properties sold. We've implemented a 30-day wait. So we say if the actual property is in our possession, meaning it's been transferred from the state to the authority so that we can sell it to a prospective buyer. We implemented a 30-day wait to post that property so that anyone who was interested in that property had 30 days to put in there any information or ask any questions about that property. And that was just us trying to be fair and open up the property to everyone. So if it takes us a little bit more time, which 30 days I don't think is a long time, but if it means that we're being fair to the community, I think 30 days is well worth it. And to the Madam Mayor's point, they did give that money to the authority, and that was when we had nothing. We don't get any monies from the state, which is fine. It's just that we didn't have anything to even operate off of. Okay, and since then we have built up our bank account to $1.4 million. So there are lots of successes out there on that campus. We have a mix of people that utilize and want to purchase property on that campus. We have some small businesses, we have some micro businesses, and we have some that are a little bit larger. So I think it is very important that the city still have as much input as they can into that property. The other thing the mayor did not mention, which she should, and I mean, the city has been maintaining the roads out there. We don't have the money to maintain roads. They have willingly stepped in to do that for the authority. So they're very much vested in what happens, and they want and have been a part of the success of that campus.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Any questions for Dr. Nelson before we move on to our other speakers that we have online? Thank you, Dr. Nelson. This time we're going to get Robert Benyon, one of the board members of Renaissance Park and treasurer. Mr. Benyon?
Yes, I'm here.
Am I pronouncing that right?
Benyon, yes, sir.
All right. You've got the floor, sir.
All right. I am actually the current chairman. I became the chairman of the board about a month ago. I was previously the treasurer of the board, now the chairman of the board. A couple of things in kind of listening to everyone speak about this. I've been on the board slightly less than a year now. My daytime paying job is real estate. I'm a licensed real estate broker, instructor. I have my own real estate company. And that was why I was asked by the county to serve on the board, was for my expertise in real estate, because obviously the primary function of this board right now is selling the real estate and then reinvesting the money back into economic growth. One of the things that I do find extremely cumbersome with this board is, and something Senator Williams says, real estate moves quickly. And so having to try to get the 9 people together once a month to make real estate happen is a little bit cumbersome. When Dr. Nelson spoke a few minutes ago, my fellow board member, she is correct. We did a 30-day hold policy on selling properties. And the reasoning for that, which I totally agree with, is to make sure that everybody that wants to have an opportunity to bid on a property, it is out there. So we gave it what I'd call a seasoning time, that the property has to be on the market for a minimum of 30 days before the board will answer any bids, to make sure there's a fair process, like I said, for not just larger companies, but smaller companies, local companies, mom and pop startup business. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. Where there is a little bit of problem with that, and we just recently I had an issue with that, is when you're dealing with a real estate contract, and a contract currently comes to the real estate committee, and then the contract the following week goes to the full board. If we need to make a counteroffer to that offer, and they want to counter to us, we've got to wait an entire month before we can even respond to them, because it is rather difficult to get 9 people. To be honest with you, if it was up to my preference, I would assume the board would meet twice a month. I think we could move a little bit quicker. I had an incident at our last board meeting where one of the properties we got under contract, that particular buyer's due diligence period was running out. And, I believe with Georgia Open Sunshine laws, whatever you want to call them, we've got to give 48 hours notice to even convene a called meeting. And I simply didn't have enough time for that. So the buyers had to terminate, and the buyers had to terminate. And then we had to basically do a whole new contract for 3 days later in our next board meeting with that. We mentioned the roads, and I know the county and the city has got brought up in this with too. And we are so grateful for our partnerships with both the city and the county. But I want to be clear that both the city and the county have a hand in Central State Hospital. The county actually got a grant for us in 2017 to repave the roads for Central State Hospital. So even though we are in the city limits, the county is certainly helping us as well too. And when we sell these properties, they go on the books and they help with city tax, property tax revenue, and with county tax revenue as well too. But it would be much easier to make real estate happen if we had a smaller board that was just 5 members.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a couple questions from you, Mr. Benyon. I'm going to take
Yes.
Whip Park first. I know Representative Griffith's got one too. I'm going to go ahead because I want to give some instructions in just a second. So Whip Park, this is Whip Park, Mr. Benyon.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Binion, thank you for your presentation. With respect to the cumbersome nature of a 9-person board, are y'all not able to change your bylaws to maybe have an executive committee of 3 of the 9 perhaps approve these sorts of transactions? I suppose the underlying question is really, this proposal that's before us would be a state takeover that would provide the city of Milledgeville only 1 out of 5 members, in which, my view of this is really where this proposal is trying to, kill a fly with a sledgehammer. But would a bylaws amendment or change help address at least the cumbersome nature of a 9-person board?
Yeah. I can answer that 2 parts. One, I don't see this as a state takeover. We already had a appointment by the governor, which has always been a local person. Never once have we had anybody come out of Atlanta or Capital coming to our board meeting. So I don't really see this as a state takeover. But to answer your question, we could, with our bylaws, change it. I believe due to what happened in the past prior to my time, at one point, the executive director had free control over signing contracts, and I'm not so sure the board wasn't aware of what was going on. And I personally think that the board needs to be aware of all the real estate transactions. That is the crux of what we're doing, is making real estate happen so we can make economic development happen. And I'm perfectly more comfortable with a full board knowing everything that's going on versus just a couple of members, sir.
One additional follow-up, if I may. So just to clarify then, are you supportive of Senate Bill 260, this recent version that my understanding is would essentially reset the board and undermine local control?
I would definitely be in support of Senate Bill 260, I believe you said, whatever the number is.
All right. We've got one more speaker. Do you have a question for Mr. Benyon or a general statement?
Yeah, I just have a general statement.
Well, why don't we hold general statements right now? I would like to. Okay, I will let you ask him a question.
Okay. Mr. Benyon, have you had an opportunity to read the current bill that the current substitute to the bill that we are talking about today?
No, I have not seen SB 260, Representative Griffin.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have one more. Mr. Benyon, I want to appreciate your testimony. We've got one more speaker, Ms. Arlene Simmons, Milledgeville City Council, District 2. Are you online with us, Councilwoman Simmons? Look at your mute on your computer, please, or your phone.
Can you hear me, Chair?
We can hear you now. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is Arlene Simmons. I'm a current officer, Central State Hospital Local Redevelopment Authority, and I do serve on the Real Estate Committee as well, and I am a Milledgeville City Council member. This hospital has a significant connection to the residents within the community, thousands of whom have made a living working there. And being on this board, my hope is for the redevelopment of these properties to provide the jobs again for the community. And I would agree with the 5 members, going to 5 members. I am in agreement with Representative Griffin when he states that it should be ran by the locals. I would agree that more locals should be a part, but I do agree also with the 5-member board because it is troublesome getting these real estate deals, to move effectively in order for these properties to be sold. So that is my take on that. I would love to see the process move more effectively as a 5-member board, but having a majority of locals running it.
Okay, Ms. Simmons, we got one question. Well, we've got 2 now. I'm going to go ahead and let Representative Griffin, I know his question, so that you're going to ask. I could probably ask it for you if you've seen this bill. There, go ahead and ask your question. So,
thank you very much. Councilman Simmons, have you seen and read, what is it, Senate Bill
260.
260 and the substitute to that bill?
Not the substitute. I do agree with you as well that everyone who has a stake in this, when it comes to board members, city, county, should have that in front of them before we
May
make
I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
No.
Okay, I have a follow-up. Mr. Benyon and both of you, you talked about some of the changes need to be made, but
please direct your question to one person so we
okay.
don't have confusion.
Okay, well, Ms. Simmons, I go to her.
Okay.
Are you in agreement with me that some of those changes that have been brought up from the standpoint of the Constitution and bylaws, the bylaws, that you all have the opportunity to do that as a board instead of coming back to the legislature?
I agree that there is a possibility there. We just have not sat in front of the substitute to see all of those changes in front of us. So, and it seems as if there is a possibility to make those changes within the board.
Okay, thank you, Representative Griffin. I've got one more question, then we're going to have some discussion between the author and the opposition that's in the House. So I'm going to go to Representative L.C. Miles.
Good afternoon, Councilwoman. Are you okay with the only having one representative from the city of Midville being on the board as it constitutes, as this particular bill constitutes a board?
Well, that is one of the things I would love to see change. I would rather it be more members from the local side than anywhere else. So I am for the 5-member because I do know the challenges. However, I would rather it be majority of those 5 members from a local standpoint.
I realize you haven't read the bill, but
Question? Just follow up?
follow question.
Okay.
But are you saying that you are okay with this bill, even though you haven't read it, and this bill only gives Millersville one person to put on the board? Are you okay with that?
No, I'm not okay with that part. I'm not okay with just one from Millersville. I would prefer that there is more representatives from Millersville on the board.
All right, thank you.
If it would to go to 5 members.
All right, I cut him off. He was thanking you, Councilwoman Simmons, for your testimony. We're getting near the 2-hour mark here in this committee, and I want to give a chance for Representative Griffin to have a couple minutes to have some closing remarks, and then I'm going to go back to the author, Chairman Williams, for some closing remarks, and then I'll see what the will of the committee is. Sure. Chairwoman Mathiak has one question. Who is this directed at?
Well, I really think it's directed at,
Sorry.
I hate those things. I know. Councilwoman Simmons. In fact, are the other members still on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, so they will hear my question. Are they aware that there's a appointed member from the city and an appointed member from the county, Baldwin County, City of Milledgeville, Governor, Senate, House of Representatives? The senator and the House of Representatives are from that district. So in my mind, they'd actually probably have 4 people from their city and county. I cannot imagine the governor appointing somebody from outside a district for this, for something like this. Is it not true that this is state property within a city? Is that true?
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right. You know, we've debated this for a few years, new to me, and two, that's, you know, that would be the executive department's decision of who they thought best would be put on this board. It's not controlled by us if that is granted to the governor and the executive branch. At this time, I want to ask Representative Griffin if he has any closing remarks. Try to keep it about 2 minutes. I think we've all discussed. Hey, listen, the process, Representative Griffin. You know, we've been through this. You know, the legislative process from being in the Senate all those years, and now when these substitutes fly around last minute. So this is not something new to you and a surprise to you that this is part of the process. But I want to thank you and those that are online and those members for just some great dialogue and discussion that we've had here today. And so I'm going to let, if you, at this time you have the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. The only thing that I ask you all to do, we should not pass this bill this year. That could be a study committee, or we can get the players together to solve this issue, because it is something very serious to Milledgeville, Baldwin County, and to this state. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is not do pass.
I love closing remarks like that. Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been in touch with the Inspector General's office also. I actually talked to Inspector General Nigel Lang yesterday about Central State Hospital. They are ongoing their investigation. They have been down, they have scanned every record down there, and the accusations of impropriety have floated around for some time. The city cannot turn on the street lights out there. When it gets dark, it's pitch black. The Sheriff's Department, Police Department don't patrol it. I've asked the State Patrol we have Post 33 out there close to that, and they patrol and try to keep some order out there. A property owner, a gentleman that bought apartments, and he has been renovating them, and he is trying to get the water turned on by the city. The city told him he had to buy a valve, a special valve, so they could turn on the water. And that valve cost $250,000. There's a fire hydrant out there that is at the shoulder of the road. It's on the city right-of-way. And the city has told him, you've got to buy a new fire hydrant. Well, the city is not maintaining, they're not doing their part. They're not financially able to do their part. As Mr. Griffin stated, yes, this is serious business. Am I doing this out of a vendetta? Am I doing this out of something personal? No. I moved to Milledgeville, Baldwin County when I was a senior in high school. My father ran ambulance service. I rode an ambulance when I was 14 years old with him. I have lived in Milledgeville since 1969. I was on a Baldwin County commission when Mr. Griffin came back from the military in 1988, 89 when he came back. 90. Well, I wasn't off far because my term went from 89 to 92. Anyway, this is serious. Look, I'm asking for you to pass this because I'm trying to improve it, make it better, and I'll be the first one to, if it does not work, I will be the first one back to tell you it didn't work. We got to do something else or dissolve it and let the state take it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. I know we're all passionate about our communities, and I appreciate the passion I see on both sides, that we want what's best for that state piece of property. And I want to say that again. This is property that is owned by the state of Georgia, not by the city, not by the county. And I know that we all want to do the right thing with this. And you, again, in this process, that we're at a crossroads, that this is just a piece of the process. If whichever way this committee decides to take SB 260 further, and there's still, a long way to go before this could take effect. But at this time, I do want to reach out to this committee and see what the will of the committee might be.
At the appropriate time, I'd like to SB 260 do pass. Thank you.
This is appropriate time. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Okay. Okay. Representative Miles. You're recognized to speak right now in this discussion.
In light of the fact that this bill has just come out, and everybody we talked to that haven't read
I cannot hear you. You got to talk in the mic.
in light of the fact that this just came out, the first time I've seen it is at here. And most of the people we've talked to hadn't read the bill. I would like to think that we should table this until we have a chance to let everybody and let all the parties read the bill.
Well, I'm not accepting that motion at this time.
Okay, all right. That's my motion.
Whip Park.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is that a motion to table is a superseding motion. Y'all have the votes to knock it down if you want to. I would ask respectfully and to respect the procedures of the legislature that motion be recognized, move through it, and if you want to pass it anyways, you can do so. But I would ask respectfully that Representative Miles' motion to table be recognized.
Chairman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a point of order, a motion to table for the purpose of delaying a vote or preventing further discussion can be ruled out of order by the chairman.
At this time, we have a motion, a do pass. We have a second. Any further discussion? So what is the will of this committee? Who all's in favor say aye. All opposed? We're going to raise hands real quick. Those that are in favor, please raise your hand. Count, please, Secretary. We have 6. All opposed? We have 4. The motion does pass. This concludes the committee. I want to thank everybody for their attendance and look forward to getting closer to the last day of the session.